CEEYOUTH is a key-free project, EU funded. We are 10 different partner organizations. We are based in different EU countries, Latvia, Lithuania, Romania, Poland, Spain, the Netherlands, we in Belgium, probably I'm missing Croatia as well. And the project is connected with the key words that define the European Youth Strategy, which is connect, engage, and empower. And this is why we have been from February, beginning of February, going deeper into the different goals that comprise this European Youth Strategy. And today we are going to talk about quality employment for all. And I'm so happy to have, as guest speaker of the day, someone I really admire, Hassan Al Hilou, founder and innovative director of Capital. Hassan, I already told you your CV is, we need just one webinar explaining what have you done so far, but I'm trying to do my best introducing you shortly before you explain us a little bit who you are and moving into our conversation. So I'm reading it actually. So Hassan is the founder and innovation director at Capital, one of Brussels' top youth organizations, which has the ultimate goal of supporting these youth community-driven projects that they foster youth talent and also have this ultimate goal of creating leaders, the leaders of today and the leaders of tomorrow. This is one thing. Apart from that, Hassan is a strategic advisor, multi-serial entrepreneur, keynote speaker, author, and he's focused on many topics, but trying to summarize what you do, Hassan, it's this interlink among social innovation, diversity, and societal transformation. And as I say, this is a very short intro. You have here, let me just admit all. So you have here, all of you, 2 QR codes that no worries if you don't have a phone with you now. I will be sharing everything afterwards. But these QR codes, one of them is redirecting you to Hassan's website, and the second one brings you to the Capital website. So maybe a couple of minutes, Hassan, so people can scan the QR codes. And in the meantime, again, many thanks on behalf of the CEEYOUTH project, on behalf of Youth Proactive, organizer of this webinar, of giving us this opportunity of getting to know you better.
No, the pleasure is mine. It's always been an honor for me to speak around Europe, around the world, and to inspire as much as possible people, and especially those organizations that are active with youngsters, with the youth, especially with vulnerable youngsters. So it's my honor to be here.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Hassan. So as we all usually do in these webinars, you all know that we divide the webinars in 2 main sections. First one, we are going to have this more like formal conversation that is structured in 3 key topics that connects with Hassan, background and what he's currently doing. And then we have this open Q&A. Having this said, feel free at any time to write down any question you have on the chat. We are going to address afterwards in the Q&A. And if there is like one question that you need to ask Hassan in the moment that we are having the conversation, I think that it's fine also, just raise your hand and we will address that. But as you know, we have this allocated Q&A. So having this said, Hassan, let's move to this more first formal section of our conversation, and then we will interact with all our participants. And again, massive thanks to everyone that is joining us from so many different EU countries and also neighboring countries like Tunisia, and we are very happy to have all of you on board. So let's move to the question 1, Hassan, which is more connected with your background, where you are coming from. So you work through, towards this purpose-driven entrepreneurship and innovative, inclusive innovation. This is the interlink of your work. So I'm reading the question. All of you can also read the question. We will give you a couple of minutes as well to read it, and then I will stop sharing so we can see better our faces. So Hassan, your journey began at a very, very young age indeed, and Capital is now shaping, as I mentioned, these inclusive economic spaces for youth in Brussels. So this is kind of a more personal question, but connects with your journey and your outcome, the place where you are nowadays. But what inspired you to start this mission, and how can youth from disadvantaged backgrounds leverage, connect entrepreneurship and access to quality employment, the core topic, no, of today's webinar.
No, great. Thank you for this question, Teresa. So, first of all, hello, hi to everyone. I'm honored to be here and to speak in front of you, and I hope to also engage together with you. If it's today, if it's later in the period, but lovely to be inspired by different countries and different way of working. So it's true, Teresa, that I started at a quite young age my own entrepreneurial lifestyle. So I was well known in Belgium as the youngest entrepreneur of Belgium. I created my first business, my first startup at the age of 15 to fight fake news by the use of AI. That was avant la lettre de Trump. So then Donald Trump well, existed, but it was not in the period where Donald Trump started the hype around fake news. It was really in a period that social media was well known and people were using it. And at that period, I realized like, okay, but there are things going on there. That's not so true. It's talking about Molenbeek, about Brussels, where I'm living in, where I grew up in, without the real reality on it. And so that's the period I started my first startup. I was a pur sang entrepreneur, so that means it was a commercial business. But by the time I realized that it was also purpose driven, because I wanted to solve a societal issue. What I always admire because of that success is the fact that we should use social innovation. And step by step, I'm being invited by larger companies, institutions, governments around the world to speak about that, how to look to challenges and search innovative solutions for that. Because more than ever, we need it. We need scalable, innovative solutions to tackle all those societal issues that exist. I also graduated on that, on innovation management. I also teach social innovation in the university today. So that's my biggest passion. So why did I start Capital from entrepreneurship background? It was all because of COVID. So during COVID, I was lucky to travel around the world, to work a lot, to speak in different, let's say, different groups and different stakeholders, or together with different stakeholders. And then COVID came, and we needed to stay at home. And for my business, it was still fine because I was still working and I was still earning my money. But step by step, I realized that the societal challenges around me, especially linked to youth, weren't easy. At that age, I was 20. So during COVID, I was 20 years old. And then I realized that a lot of my friends that still have a vulnerable background came to me and they were like, oh, Hassan, we know that you have this network with companies. Could you afford us a job? Or could you support us by having a housing? Because at home, there's a lot of finance going on. Or could you find a place where I could go study? Because we are with 5 people at a small apartment at home, so I couldn't focus on my study. And during that period, during COVID, everything was closed. All the public spaces, I don't know how it was in your countries, people, but in Belgium, there was this kind of a lockdown. That means that no youngster could go out of their own home. But the reality, if you have a lockdown with 2 children, with a 4-bedroom house, yeah, it's maybe not the easiest, but it's easier than when you have 3 or 4 children with a single mother in a small studio without any bedroom. Yeah. Then staying at home is quite heavier. And so at that period, I received a lot of messages from the youngsters asking for support. And I was like, okay, and I could support them because I have this huge network of the corporates, of wealthy families, of the politics, policy makers that could really help them. But okay, I could help 1 person, 2 person, 3 person. And at the moment, I realized that the challenge is systemic. Yeah. And so we need to solve it also by systemic change and not by just Hassan trying to be nice and supporting those 3, 4 people around them. No, we need systemic change. And so at that period, I needed to decide what to do next in my life. Well, at a really young age, but I had a successful company. I had this large corporates asking me to work together with them, like McKinsey, Ageas, and stuff like that. And so, but at the same time, I was seeing the people around me. I was like, maybe we need to support them more structurally. And so I asked, or I organized a meeting with different, like, let's say, different stakeholders to ask them the question, what could we do? What could we do for the youth? What could we do for the youngsters? And the first response at that moment was, we need to give them public space. We need to give them a safe space. And so today we have a huge building of 2,500 square meters in the center of Brussels that's open 6 days a week from 10 in the morning to 8 in the night, where youngsters just could enter the building and being developed. Means they could study, they could work on a project, they could, but it's free entry. You just enter and you develop yourself. It's like a co-working space, but then low entry, no money, and focusing on yourself. And so this safe space, that's also 50-50 gender balance, by the way, quite unique in larger cities often in Europe, in Belgium. The majority of public spaces are being dominated by the boys, and the girls do not have a space in it or a place at it, because of a reality that today when you open a youth house, for example, you ask the éducateur, so the youth worker, to go on street and to find the youngsters. And who are the youngsters on the street often? It's the boys.
Yes.
And then so they invite the boys to co-design the youth house. And the first thing they ask for is a PlayStation or a pool table or like a place where they could smoke. And it's like already men dominated before they open the door.
Yeah.
And so when we created Capital, the public space, from the day one, we said it's an inclusive, safe space for everyone, for all the genders, but also for all the origins. Again, another challenge we had in Brussels was that often youth houses were being dominated by one type of origin. There was this youth house dominated by the Moroccan origin boys. There was those by the Turkish Belgian boys, other by the Congolese Belgian boys, the Belgian boys, but they didn't came together. Even when they have common challenges and they need common solutions, they just didn't came together. And so that is where we created Capital, the public, the safe space. Today we reach around 10,000 individual youngsters every year entering my building. Today it's bank holiday. We are open. We're always open. Today they already sent it in the Slack group, let's say the WhatsApp group. They already sent it that there's more than 300 youngsters today in the building. I am not in the building today because otherwise I could not shout like this, because I'm shouting when talking. Then there was people saying, shut up, they don't care about me. But so everyone is welcome at that place. Now that is the building, but you do not solve youth unemployment only by the bricks. You don't solve youth unemployment only by creating a place. Yeah. You need to have real solutions. And so we offered a safe space to reach the youngsters. We have even boxing space, so you could come to boxing classes. It's a one-stop shop. So it's one place where you could find all the things to develop yourself. But at the moment, we were realizing, how could we solve youth unemployment? And we realized, and it's quite provocating, but again, I repeat, I'm teaching social innovation, so it's my work to provocate the standard. I ask my students to do that, so I'm also doing it myself. The reality of the majority of youth organizations today that exist are classical. That means, or they have a classical methodology that's not been changed for 20 years, and with all the respect, the youngsters today are not the same youngsters as those of 20 years ago. Yeah. And I know some organizations like that, if I go into youngsters, I'm saying, look, I'm an organization that's going to take you together with me to the cinema freely, or I'm going to take you to the bowling. They're like, I don't want to go with you. huh? Find a way that I could gain money to go with my own group,
Yeah.
with my own friends. 20 years ago, it was good. It was like this top-down approach of we're going to offer you free activities. We're going to take you to places you could not go to. And they were like, oh, happy. Huh? Today, they're not like that. They want to gain money. They want to earn money. They want to spend it on things they think it's important for them. And so the majority of organizations are quite classical, but at the same time also a class approach.
Yeah.
That means today I'm gonna have a full-time employee to work on 20 youngsters during a full year. That's expensive. In Brussels, the youth unemployment number is 28%. The youth group between 16 to 25 that I'm working on is more than 150,000. So if we have solutions that only focus on 20 youngsters for a full year, 30 youngsters, that's not the way how we're going to solve youth unemployment. That's not how we're going to tackle youth unemployment. And I'm not saying it from a gut feeling. It's a reality. If you look today to the youth unemployment all around Europe, it's going a bit down and then up, down, up. But we never, the past 20 years, in none of those countries, we have been seeing a real decrease of youth unemployment. So then we need to ask ourselves the question, how could we make sure that all those talents, all those passionate people, all those youngsters really could have a job? And so that's the work today of Capital. So what we do today is we have this safe space that we are open for the youngsters to come in every day independently to develop themselves. But then at the moment they're asking for support, we have different scalable, innovative solutions that exist today to help them in the support. I'm going to only share with you 3 programs. And then we could close that, unless there are questions on that. So 3 scalable solutions, innovative solutions to tackle youth unemployment that we have today. And so you could always reach out to me by LinkedIn, by Instagram, if you also want to figure out how to use it. The first one is JobX.
Okay.
JobX has been opened by the Prime Minister, the king himself, the Majesty, his king himself is already came in to visit that. We have European policymakers from all around Europe also coming over to visit JobX, because JobX is the first and the most unique high-tech job exposition that exists.
Wow.
And so what we do, we have a job exposition where we showcase more than 100 jobs and 20 industries by technologies like hologram, virtual reality, augmented reality, gamification, digital screen, cinema experience. And so the idea behind it is that often youngsters at the age between 16 and 19 years old, they need to decide what next.
Yeah.
What could I become?
Yeah.
And the majority of them don't know it,
yeah,
because they are living in an environment that's not really informing them about the possibilities that exist. And so how do we inform youngsters about the employment? Today, the classical approach is we're going to take a small group to a company.
Yeah.
We're going to do a company visit. Expensive, pedagogically not correct. Because those people in those companies do not have the language of those youngsters. Yeah. But also those 20 youngsters are not all interested by this only one job they have been listening to.
Yeah.
Another is this kind of a job fair. We're going to organize a job fair. But all those youngsters don't want to have directly a job. Maybe they want to study further. Maybe they want to do some kind of training before they go to a job. So the classical approaches are not working. And JobX is the high-tech job exposition where we co-created together with companies. By the way, Capital is fully private funded. We don't have public funding.
Okay.
Fully. So all the solutions we creating are being financed even with profit by companies, but with the benefit that the youngsters are by scalability developing themselves. So JobX is a high-tech job exposition. Youngsters could come over, they walk around, and during the tour that they walk around, they discover different jobs by technology. Those videos we created of those jobs are being created by the youngsters itself. What makes that the youngsters, when looking to that, they understand the jobs with huge impact. So we have around 83% of the youngsters before and after Job X visit, and it's only a 2 hours visit, they discover more than 5 new jobs and industries that could be interesting for them. More than 83%. So that's an incredible number that you could, if you calculate it next to the NPS of the existing sector, we are really, really high.
Really high. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is Job X. It's scalable. It's been funded by companies that wants to exclusively show their jobs. And a lot of youngsters thousands of youngsters discover jobs without huge cost. I have only one full-time employee for 1,500 youngsters every year visiting Job X.
Wow.
You understand scalable innovative now?
Yes.
Scalable innovative solution. That's what I mean.
Yes.
Small cost, huge impact. That's one program. The second program we have is Connect. That's an application, a phone application. You could download it. And Capital Connect has as goal that today we have a huge fragmented landscape. We have a lot. Youngsters could subscribe for a lot of different workshops, a lot of different trainees, a lot of different opportunities. But how does it come that the youngsters don't find their way to everything that exists? I could guarantee some of you have that maybe. You have an organization, you have this great activity being organized, and then you're like, oh, how to find the youngsters?
Yeah.
Oh, let's maybe start TikTok. Yeah, that's not so easy. Oh, let's start Instagram. Yeah, no, that's not so easy. Oh, let's reach out to all the schools. Oh, you're not the first one. Already more than 100 other organizations reach out to schools. And so Capital Connect is a personalized platform, an application where youngsters could create their own profile about who they are and steps-wise where they want to go to. And then as if they are on TikTok, they could see personalized opportunities for their development. And so what we do is that organizations could enter Capital Connect to share their opportunities. And then we have this one-stop digital place where organizations are being linked to youngsters that are interested in the activity. So we connect both worlds, youngsters that are interested and organizations that have something to organize. Again, that doesn't exist today in Belgium. We have like this kind of institutions that try to do that the old way, like having a website, but it's not working with the youngsters. Or we have 100 different organizations that are on TikTok. So it's quite fragmented. Yeah. And now we centralize them in one platform, Connect. To end it with the number, we already have, I checked it today before this keynote, more than 4,020 users. So accounts, more than 4,020 accounts been created on Capital Connect by Brussels youngsters to discover opportunities. And we have 42 organizations active now on the application to share their opportunities. We only exist for 2 months.
2 months.
The application, only in 2 months' time. Again, scalable innovation. What is the cost of Connect today? A part-time employee. A part-time employee making sure that thousands of youngsters could be connected by opportunities, informed by opportunities, having a personalized trajectory on their opportunity. Again, scalable innovation. And then I ended with the third one, and then I end this because again, I think this one is the most loaded because we're talking about capital. That's what we're doing. So the third one is Match. Mm-hmm. And Match is a social recruitment agency. What we do with capital is we offer in a safe space. Youngsters could come freely to study, to work, to develop themselves. JobX is inspiring them. What are the jobs? Inform them. Connect them with all those small activities that could make them a stronger personality, a better person, a better individual, a better youngster. Connect them with what exists. And so what should be the last step, Teresa?
Match.
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 Connect them with real jobs.
Yes.
And so how do we do the connectment with employment? What are the challenges? I'm sure that every one of you already heard about that. You have two stakeholders, youth and companies. The youngsters are saying, where are the jobs that you're talking about? We don't find them.
Yeah.
The youngsters also are saying, I do see the jobs, but what does it mean, the job? I'm not confident enough to apply for that job before I understand the job.
Yes. Yes.
And the third one is, I'm applying for a job. I'm applying for a job, but they're not answering me. They're not replying on me. How does it come? Okay, let us put that on side. At the same time, the companies comes to me and they're like, where are the youngsters you're talking about? 28% youth unemployment. Where are they? We don't find them. The second thing is that the companies have their own recruitment channels that do not find those untapped potential.
Yeah.
Their channel often is their internal HR,
yes,
an existing recruitment agency that's only commercial focused, or we call it an interim agency.
Yes.
So an agency that's doing those small contracts.
Mm-hmm.
And so when asking those companies and the HR, but those that are applying, how does it come that you do not answer them? And they say, first of all, oh, because of the AI software we have, the artificial intelligence software that puts them downstairs because their CV is not compatible to invite. And that's true. The youngsters we are working with, after they do not have an experience, they do not have some kind of an hobby they put on their CV. They're quite a white paper when in a CV. So often they are downstairs. And so what is matched today, again, scalable, innovative solutions. We were like, okay, we need to make sure that companies start to see those talent. So let's create a database. A database where we bring those talents on it and where companies could find them. But then again, companies will not invite them only because they're on a database. They want to be sure that their CV, that's a white paper, that we could remove that. Remove the CV and show me as company that this youngster has motivation and the attitude.
Wow.
And so they say to match to us, they say, if you as a connector, let's say, between the youngster and a job could show me that this youngster has motivation and the right attitude, then we don't look to the CV, we're gonna recruit them.
Wow.
And so what we do today is we have a digital sectorial based onboarding, pre-onboarding.
Okay.
So today a youngster say, I want to have a job. What we do then is with a social recruiter, we're gonna have a discussion with these youngsters about which jobs and which sector do you think you could work in? We have this kind of questions, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we arrive to one sector, let's say the hospitality sector. Then this youngster get a free access to a digital pre-onboarding. So that means on his phone, this youngster could learn about the job of working in hospitality. What are the different etiquette? How to do a small talk? How to serve a woman that's pregnant? So all those things are being in a digital pre-onboarding. Those are videos, quiz, questions that we put in the digital pre-onboarding. They focus on this pre-onboarding. They discover a lot of things about the sector. Those that have been finishing that, they already showcased us motivation because they did it freely on their time, because it's on their phone, so they could do it at home, during the night. Today, how does it work, Teresa? Today, we're going to say you need to be for 1 week, every day from 9 in the morning to 5 at night in my organization to follow workshops on soft skills, hard skills, sector skills. And what do they say by the end? Oh, how does it come that 70% doesn't end the trajectory? Yeah, because they are working on the shit of yesterday, those youngsters. They don't have the energy of coming and that's the reason we do it on the phone. When finishing this digital pre-onboarding, they still have physical onboarding in Match, in Capital, in our organization, where we focus more on the soft skills. And then by ending that, you get a green card. So you could get a green card in 1 week.
Wow.
Having a green card means that companies look to you as potential.
Okay.
So companies, when seeing someone in the database with a green card, that means for the company, this individual showcased the motivation by doing the whole trajectory,
The attitude.
knows already 70% of the job because of the pre-onboarding, and wants to work with me and has the attitude to work with us. So now we're going to recruit them.
Wow.
And so that is matched to solve the question of the real employment. That's what we do with Capital, search and innovation, scalable innovation for youth development.
Wow, congratulations really, Hassan, on all of this. And this triple methodology, first, you are showing, you are fostering innovation in a way, then you are inspiring, connecting, and matching. And as you say, this goes beyond like traditional methodologies that most of the time you have mentioned the percentage of how many youngsters only in Belgium are unemployed. If we, the exponential effect in the whole EU countries, it's massive. Literally, it's massive. Wow. So really congratulations, because methodologically speaking, I think for the ones that we are here present, this is super inspiring. Like to start, like witnessing different ways of like how, we embrace youth unemployment. And I see it's very circular in a way, and moving, not only the CV, because this happens so often, no? Like many CVs look the same. And so how can you differentiate
Teresa,
yourself?
what some are saying? Some are saying, let's remove the name of the CV because then maybe companies will recruit. No,
yes.
the challenge is structurally in the CV.
Yes. I remember when I was a bit younger, like let's remove the photo, no? So now there are no photos in the CVs. Then let's remove the names. So there is no like cultural or sociological preferences. But as you say, probably no, as your model is proving, it's more than this. Hassan, let's move to the next question, which is very interlinked to what we have been discussing so far. And second question. Oh, wow. Fantastic question indeed. I'm very happy with this one. So let's see. Let's see how we can bridge these gaps, as you have mentioned, through community empowerment and role models. You mentioned that I wasn't fully aware that Capital was born in the context of COVID, and also, bringing community to the center. Those were very difficult times, for all of us, lockdown and everything. And it really connects with the essence of community and creating a free co-working space. Quite not the norm, and safe space, no? So this definitely shows your preference towards these community empowerment models. And I'm reading the question again, a couple of minutes for all our participants to also read with me. So as you are telling us, Capital is placing this strong central emphasis on mentorship, representation, role of youngsters in today's society. So why is it important for young people, especially, again, from those from underserved communities you mentioned, that there are like youngsters from one country for another, but generally speaking, to see people like themselves, to feel connected in positions of leadership and also business role models. And also, very important, what kind of structures help facilitate this? Because as you mentioned, you were talking about systemic change, It's about changing the structure. It's not only the surface. So what really, structurally speaking, how we can really foster this connection with community and role models?
Great question. So first of all, we need to look to quantity. And what I mean with that is a lot of youngsters need a lot of support. And then you have two ways to offer them this support. Or you're going to do it as how we have been doing it for years, by recruiting a youth worker or street worker that could not do all the job. This one individual could not do the whole job. They have some kind of an impact, but they could not do it. So how to do quantity? Do we need to recruit more youth workers? Do we need to recruit more street workers? Of course, why not? Let's do it. I mean, I love to have more and more. The reality is, and I think for all of your countries is the same, the government is not so interested in giving more to our industry, to the youth sector. So recruiting more is not a reality. And so where to find the quantity? I don't know if I'm blocked or is it Teresa?
It's me.
Okay, great.
It's me. Carry on.
Okay, no,
That's
great.
me.
So I wanted to be sure.
I'm back. Hi, everybody.
Otherwise, I'm speaking alone and
No. I was
also fine.
listening to you, but for some reason my camera was off. Apologies, Hassan.
No, totally fine, totally fine, totally
Thank
fine.
you.
So quantity, we need to find. So I'm sure you could go to the governments and ask for more money for more youth workers, for more street workers. The reality is they're not giving that. And so where to find the quantity that helps us in supporting all those individuals that have individual needs? Let's search that. And so quantity is one part of it, but you have then quality. Where to find qualitative quantity? And that is where we have been looking to. And you find that often in companies.
Yeah.
In companies, you have law firms, you have consultant firms, you have pharmaceutical companies, you have governmental institutions, you have all those companies around your own organization that exist, that have high-level people working there, well-educated people that has this kind of an academic background people working there, being boring because they know their job is not really doing something for society, and they want to give back. And so qualitative quantity is by making sure all those people around you that are working every day in those companies, how could we recruit them voluntarily to activate them in the development of our youngsters, the youngsters that need support. And so today we are doing that on different levels. How do we do it? First of all, we ourselves in our building, we organize different one-to-one sessions. And that means is that companies are talking about our organization and are saying to their employees, do you want to volunteer to become a mentor for a vulnerable youngster? Subscribe by saying what you are, where do you live, and where could you work for? And then we connect this mentor with a youngster that wants to become like this mentor. So for example, a youngster that wants to become a lawyer will be connected by a lawyer from the same area. A youngster that want to work inside a consultant firm could have the same. A youngster that just want to have a more practical job with their hands, they also could be connected with a mentor. So it's not always been linked to academic background. It's just being a mentor could become everyone. We do that so they could come to our building. We have what we call Café Capital. So it's a place in our building where you could have free coffee, free tea, free. So I invite you all, if you're in Brussels, come over to my building, come over to my Café Capital. Let's have a chat. Or with one of my colleagues to have a chat. So they come, the mentor and the youngster in this Café Capital to work on their self. How much does it cost me, Teresa? €0 as an organization. It doesn't cost me anything to link an employee of a company with a youngster, because we do it by our own application, by the way. So it's always happened, the connectment happened already systemically. So that's one way. Another way, you have, of course, the most vulnerable youth. We call them in Europe, the needs, not in employment, education, and training. By the way, I'm against this terminology, but we're not going to talk about that, I think, here. But the needs, youth, so those that are having nothing in their in their life, in their day, and so they are have an entrance in our boxing center. We have our own boxing center in Capital where you could box for free. We have 3 classes every night, so we reach around 200 youngsters, 250 youngsters every week that are coming there to box. And so there we do reach the most vulnerable youngsters because often they are really interested in sport, in kind of fighting sports. That's their way to express themselves out, and we love it. So what did we do? We talked with some companies and we were like, is your company not interested in offering this kind of free boxing to their own employees? Because well-being, companies are working on well-being, offering sport to their employees. How could we do that more and more? And so we were to the companies, what if you pay us the subscription of your employee doing boxing classes in my building, but at the same time doing it with the most vulnerable youngsters, so they do more than boxing, because with boxing they create this intimate relationship, they bond together, and then they could advise the other, they could advise each other how to become better, because it's not only top down, the employee advising the youngster. No, the youngster has also this kind of a life skills, advising the reverse mentoring, we call it.
Reverse mentoring. This is so clever.
And so companies are really loving it. They send in their employees. Youngsters really, really loving it because they never expected to sit there with those kind of quite high level academic people to box together. And at the same time, often those people support the youngster to have a job by the end of at the end of the moment. And so that is the role of mentoring. It's to focus on more qualitative quantity, but you need the quantity. Otherwise, it will be quite difficult. Yeah.
Wow, this is so clever, because I'm thinking, boxing, as you were saying, as a moment like emotional connection, using a sport, as a way also to release many emotions. And probably it happens very naturally, that they are meeting, with these men and women coming from consultancies, law firms, wherever, and it just flows.
Yeah.
That's the power of a sport as well.
We don't do anything. They just both enter, they have the same clothes on, and they know one thing, and that's I need to train a lot. So it's cardio. It's a lot of cardio. And they don't care about each other's background. And that makes them on one level. And then when they're tired at the end of the boxing class, they're like, and how is it going? Where are you going? Are you going to drink something? And then they create this one. So my advice, for example, quite easy, scalable, innovative methodology that you could do as an organization. Organize this network in your own city. I don't know from which cities you are. If some could write down, because I don't know. Well, what were the countries, Teresa, you said?
Yes, okay. So here we have people from Poland, from Romania, from Lithuania, from Latvia, Spain, Netherlands, Croatia, Germany, us, and I'm missing a country. So sorry. So sorry, I'm missing a country.
A lot of cities.
Yes.
So imagine that you just say, I'm going to create this network where I'm going to link all those boxing or fighting clubs in my area, in my city. Often you have more than one. Well, that's a Brussels reality. I don't know how it's in your reality.
Several in the city.
In your city, you have more than one fighting club. Link them together and say my role to those fighting clubs is I'm going to be this one-stop contact to companies, to say to the companies, for example, hey, you have a link or access to those fighting clubs. You need to just pay a fee for every employee. And then you could have this kind of coordination of people that goes in their own area. So employees in their own area, in the fighting club of their own area. You could support the fighting club by paying also a bit of the fee, and then organize this whole methodology of methodology of mentoring. So you can do it easily in 1 week, and then reaching out to all those companies. And I'm sure all those companies are interested to step inside that project in your own city. Yeah,
Wow. Okay, we are taking note of this. Maybe a project results. Wow, no, but it's like reverse mentoring.
yeah,
Really, methodologically speaking, very inspiring. Let's move to the next question, Hassan,
great.
because I think there are so many experiences that you are sharing with us. So inspiring, honestly, so inspiring, and so much
Thank you.
learning from you. Okay, so I have a feeling we have been talking all the time about systemic change, like changing the structure. And this question, I remember from our first conversation we had before the webinar, that you told me, no, like the important role, no, of like public-private partnerships. And here we are going back a little bit to the connection, no, with like public, the policy lead, and also the business action, which is what you are actually doing, no? Including all the different stakeholders, creating this systemic change. So, from your perspective, Hassan, what role should youth organizations and grassroots entrepreneurship play in influencing policy around employment? And secondly, what's your advice for young people trying to make systemic changes from the ground up?
Great. Great. I love this question,
Thank
Teresa.
you.
Thank you. So, look, you have two things. Let's start by the youth itself. I started Capital at the age of 20. Today, I'm 26 years old. So, I'm this by youth for youth.
Okay.
And what did work in my experience? What did work in my experience is that I understand my age group. So when creating capital, when creating connect, when creating match, when creating job X, I was like, whoa, I will love to have this. And the reality is that a lot of youngsters from my age think the same.
Yes.
And so they also loved it. So to all those youngsters, if you see a challenge in your own environment and you see that the solutions today are not the ones that you think are needed, create your own solution. Think about your own solution. Think about, what do I need? And then we have two types of people. We have the activist and we have the diplomat. What's the activist? The activist is the one that's going to protest in front of the policymaker's door saying, I want to radically change the things that's going on. And we need youngsters that are radical. We need youngsters that are activists because they are creating this buzz. And let's look to, for example, the climate Mars. For example, you had a lot of youngsters going on streets saying, hey, policymakers, you need to do something. But I have a question. How many policymakers in Belgium did sit with Greta? Zero.
Zero.
Why? Because she's an activist.
Yeah.
So next to an activist, we need a diplomat. And so youngsters, we also need, between you, diplomats, not only activists. We need those youngsters that say, hey, policymaker, did you see what happened on the street? Did you see the manifestation? Did you see the protests going on? Maybe you're against what's going on, but are you aware of why they are doing it? And don't you think, as policymaker, that me as a diplomat, you as policymaker, could not do something to change it positively? And often policymakers are interested then to listen to this diplomat, because you come with this kind of an way of not attacking them, but by supporting them in finding the solution.
Yes.
So my advice to youngsters is always been, and I do that every day in my building, is we need the activists between you to create this buzz, but at the same time, I need those entrepreneurs, those diplomats between you that say, hey, but I think, dear policymaker, the solution should be like that. Because only by activism, we're not going to go forward. Only by diplomats, we're also not going to go forward.
No.
We need those both hand in hand. So youngsters, be the activist, but also have a partner in crime or in impact. I always say partner in impact for the more diplomatic approach. That's the first one. The second point is try to think outside of the box. don't think that change could only be financed by politics because of the fact that today it's always been financed by politics. You have more than the politics to finance your ideas, to finance your initiatives, to finance your projects. You have all those companies that are willing and interested to have access to a thing that you have, and that's know-how and youngsters and youth. And so use that to create a PPP, a public-private partnership initiative, by reaching to companies, saying how you as a youngster want to change something specifically, and that you need the money out also of the company. So become a real entrepreneur, and don't do it as how it's been done today. And then to organizations, how to use your influence towards policymakers. To be honest, there is a reason capital has not been funded by politics. And it's not because I don't have friends in politics. I think, Teresa, you know it. I have quite a lot of friends inside of politics. And not because of capital, because of my background as an entrepreneur, I already had a lot of friends. The reason why I'm not asking money from the politics is because I don't want to be linked to a minister or to a political party or to one specific department. I want to be free in talking, free in criticizing, free in saying what's not going right.
Yeah.
And so how am I doing it? And I'm not advising you all to do it because it's quite difficult. Today, capital is privately funded. What makes it that I could quite often shout to the politics and say, hey, my friends, you're not doing it good. Because I'm not afraid of the fact that they will shut down my money. And so how do I do it? I'm not an activist. I'm quite a diplomat. I do have a lot of moments sitting together with policymakers, ministers, to talk about, for example, what I'm discovering and how I think that by the support of policies, we could systemically change things. And you know, the politics listen more to me because they also know that I'm not coming for a specific interest or by a specific political party. I'm really coming because of the youth, because of the youngsters. And so I do have a lot of meetings with policymakers, after only with ministers, to be honest, because with parliament people I don't sit at. It's after with ministers that I sit, and then often translating my ideas towards how policy could use that and could support that. So that's how I'm doing it. Yeah.
Wow. So I really like this expression, partner in impact.
Yeah.
That's very powerful. And you know, this role, as you say, we need activists. That's a fact. You know, we really need to raise awareness about certain topics. You mentioned climate. Recently, you know, there are so many demonstrations in some of our countries, you know, young people protesting, you know, for decent housing, affordable housing. So this is also a key topic nowadays. But at the same time, you know, finding diplomatic, fostering this consensus, no, with people, as you say, that probably some people we have different mindsets depending where we are coming from, the age we are, the countries we have been raised. You can be young but have a traditional mindset, academic mindset. So in a way, it's finding, you know, building bridges, no? And I from what I've been listening and the conversation we had before, my certainty is that this is what you do, and you do it really well, Hassan. So and at a very young age, my goodness, 26. So really, really congratulations on everything. Extremely inspiring. We have been 1 hour talking, you and I. So, and it felt like 20 minutes, honestly. Really, thank you very much. And I think now is the time to open the floor to those that have questions for you. Later on, I'm going to share very quickly a QR code for a survey. We always do that. But before of that, the floor is open. The floor is yours to all the participants. If you have a question, please raise your hand. If you don't feel like, you know, turning on your camera, you can use the chat. So this is the time to ask any question you have to Hassan. Definitely, Hassan, we will be visiting you in your cafe.
Yeah, always welcome.
That's fantastic. You know, this idea of having an open cafe and, you know, free coffee, which, you know, so many people, I remember friends, young people telling me like, wow, we cannot afford a coffee.
Yeah,
Going to a
yeah.
coffee place, having a space like this is fantastic. Okay, so coffee. Alina, from Romania, Arge organization.
Hello. Thank you very much for inspiring words. Um, I hope I understood correctly. The concept of your place is just building a safe space for everybody, youngsters, maybe public institutions and politicians, definitely private actors. What I was really not understanding is how you are building trust among such a diverse ecosystem. My experience, I'm not in your range. I'm more senior, let's say, maybe more stiff. But what I've noticed is that when you aim for long-term, meaningful impact, you need a trust building approach and a long term trust building approach. And how are you doing that? How is not just one coffee one time and then we don't know and we cannot actually quantify or identify what follows? I don't know
Great.
if I was clear, but I
It
really
is.
was trying to imagine it and not
It is.
being able to.
No, it is. Alina, thank you, first of all, for the question. It's always great to have those kind of details that also need to be answered, of course, and that I have maybe forget it. So, uh, to talk about trust, so today we are being financed by 25 companies. uh, that means 20, and often every company is being the biggest company in the sector. So we give them exclusivity of sector to be a partner of capital. And to get access of this exclusivity, they need to be at least 3 years partner. So it's not like this kind of one-time support or they only finance us for 1 year. No, they need to be at least, so minimum 3 year partner of capital. And you have a huge majority of that that's been our partner for 5 years. What makes that we have we have this kind of an approach where together we start to know how to create change together through the youth. So that is how we work with companies. So when we talk about trust, it's because before they could enter capital as a partner, they need to sign for at least 3 years. And that gives us some kind of a trust of, okay, it's more than this window shadowing or this kind of a fake collaboration to just have a CSR report, let's say. So that is one way, is by creating long-term contracts before companies could enter inside capital. Now, capital itself as the physical space, the building, it's only for youth. So that means only youngsters could enter the building. And they entered by registration, and then afterwards they could always enter in the building. So the building itself is only for the youth. But so what we say is the youngster that enter the building, they are independently. They don't need something. They just want a safe space to develop themselves. But the moment they say, and now I need extra support, they go on the application of Capital Connect, where they could find the additional support. Okay. And this additional support could be organized by other NGOs, by other organizations, or by companies, for example. And then companies organize trainee or mentorships. So it's all being connected by the application. And then how to make sure that we pedagogically make sure that the quality stands high is because not everyone could enter Capital Connect from a publisher. So not every organization could publish an activity, not every NGO, not every employee. It needs to be verified by our team before they could enter on the application. And so our verification is to really see what the methodologies are that they are using, which kinds of workshop they want to offer, is it for free, for example, and things like that. So we do this kind of an quality control to make sure that it's, or a pedagogically control to make sure that they are quite pedagogically right working. So that is the way how we build trust. So to the companies by having long-term contracts, to the youngsters by having this place every day open for them to come over, and they stay with us for years. And some want to be supported after 1 day, and some ask it after 1 year, and some only after 3 years to be accessed. So it's up on the tempo of the youngsters to get their support.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much, Hassan. By the way, there is a question from our colleague Ines that is telling us that she's having technical difficulties. Ines, if you can hear me, please drop the question on the chat. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. In the meantime, if there is any more question, okay, I will read the question for you. So, what advice would you give to young people who want to inspire, but do not feel successful enough?
Okay.
And you have recommended mentorship, but there are any other resources for someone who wants to start from scratch? Thank you, Ines, for these questions.
Great question. So the first one, talking about, we want to inspire but do not feel successful. No. Okay, what is success is the question then for the first question, and that's really difficult. The reality today, because I think there are also youngsters joining in this call. So my advice also to the youngsters is, look, my trajectory is being called as a successful trajectory. I was the youngest entrepreneur of Belgium. I started my tech startup, what means in the often the more successful area of creating money. I have my own book. I'm Hassan, entrepreneur of my own life, talking about my entrepreneurship journey. And I get this kind of wealth that's been built around me, of course. And so in Brussels, often they are like, okay, you are successful because you get this attention. You're often in media. You're being invited in all those high-level events. And we only do a student job. And for them, that is not being successful. And then often when I ask them, but okay, how do you look to success? What does it mean? They often come to me with TikTok answer. Like, yeah, success is what I see on TikTok. Is this kind of a guy that rides in a Lamborghini, travels first class, and that is success. So if I'm not reaching that as an entrepreneur, then I'm a failure. But to be honest, and that's my answer often to them, how many entrepreneurs do you know really? Do you know personally? And often they say, I don't know. And I'm like, why? They say, yeah, personally, I don't know because I know them by TikTok, but personally, I don't know them. I'm like, okay, but where do you buy your bread? Where do you buy your meat? Where do you go for this kind of a specific service support? And they're like, oh yeah, there. I'm like, okay, and what's being called those people? Oh yeah, entrepreneurs. And then I'm often like, okay, but those are the entrepreneurs. Those are the 95% of the real entrepreneurs that are around you. Are those entrepreneurs that are following their passion. And by following their passion, they have this great job they love to do. And then they gain money on that also. And so that is the real entrepreneurs. And how many of them that you know are traveling every month on first class driving a Lamborghini? And I'm like, then I'm not against those kind of a materialistic approach. So, I mean, you could have materialism as success, but that's not the standard of success. The standard of success is seeing what's going on around you and then thinking about how could I do it a bit better than what's being done around me. If it's this one that sells the meat and you're like, oh, but I'm going to do it for 5% better than what's been done today, that is success. If it's better in the service you're going to offer, in the product you're going to offer, the better in the way you're doing it. If it's only 5%, this 5% difference will make you a success. And it's not always being radically, for example, the other side, the success. So For me, success is doing it a bit better than what's the standard, not doing it because of materialism and that success is. So that's a small advice about what does success mean, and when do you think you're more successful again. The second question, I think, is focusing on the mentorships and what if you you have recommended mentor, but are there any other any resources outside of mentorship to start from scratch? Look, my first advice on that is use the digital device you have in your hands. To be honest, and you're already using it at there. Like I see it in my building every day. Everyone is already using AI. They are using AI before that all those older people have been using it. I remember when ChatGPT was launched, literally, it was in the period of the exam. I think it was 1 or 2 years ago.
Yes.
It was in the period of the exam. My whole building, it was around then 250 youngsters at that period. Everyone was sitting on ChatGPT. At that period, none of my colleagues were working with ChatGPT. So youngsters are often the early adapters of the fast technological revolution. So use this technology. Today, it's easier than ever to get access to know-how, access to knowledge. Don't use only ChatGPT, use all those different tools. And there are some specific skills-focused tools using AI that could help you in creating a business plan and look into the competitors' report and having this kind of a different analysis being made. Use AI to support you in the knowledge gap that you have. Okay, so use AI for the support of the knowledge gap, but again, use the phygital approach. Phygital means physical and digital. Don't do only the digital part, because again, AI will not solve everything or will not answer everything, because there are thousands of people asking the same question and getting the same answer. Use also this physical, and that's the mentorship. People around your own environment that could be this kind of an inspiration for you, that could fill in the knowledge gap that you have. So that's quite important, to find also physical people filling in the knowledge gap that you have. So AI and mentors, and then of course, let's not forget organizations. You have still a lot of great youth organizations around you that could really take your hands and support you in specific activities.
Wow. Thank you, Ines. Thank you, Hassan. Just saying this, and I think that we can also close the questions, because we are really, 1 hour and almost, yeah. But I remember reading, and this is a very popular say, but that I think it's a quote, that you are the result of the 5 people that you are interacting daily with, no? And
Sure.
as you say, there is like this power of like the ideas you share, the people that you are mentored with, even if it's not an actual mentorship program, no? But this exchange of knowledge, this is so powerful. And how you live your life has a high effect. It's very connected with the people that you daily interact with. And definitely, yeah. And the power of AI, yeah. No, I remember 2 years ago when ChatGPT happened, suddenly I was teaching and most of my students were writing fantastic essays. And I thought, what's happening? No, but that was a proof, to see, how young people are, so connected to all these innovations, and it happens so naturally, and making the most of it is so powerful. Definitely.
And so as youth organization, you should not decline that. You should not ignore that. And often I have the feeling they want to search reasons why not to use that. When youngsters are already doing it, so try to focus on how to make it better for the youth that I'm working with, how to support the youth to use it better. Like I said, I'm a teacher, so I teach social innovation. And what I'm doing, for example, in my class, and they're in my class, they're sitting, and I give those classes. And one of the ways how I give them points is by writing an essay, of course. We need to have them writing essays. And so, yeah, today, 2024, 2025, yeah, writing an essay. You know, all the students do it like in one day because of ChatGPT is so easy to write an essay. And then what I'm doing is like, I'm saying, use it. Like use it. I'm totally not against it, but I'm going to challenge you to use it as best as you can. And for example, you need to have this kind of 10 articles that need to be launched for maximum 1 month ago, being shared in your essay. Yeah, that ChatGPT will not answer, of course. And so those are the things like, okay, how to challenge them in, okay, so use a ChatGPT to have this better quality, but still being critical enough
Totally.
to use it right. So, yeah.
Totally. Wow, thank you very much. And many thanks also for the definition of success. No, as Ines was mentioning now in the chat, no, it's very biased by social media and linking success, no, with like ambition and passion, no matter what you do, you can be a baker, you can be like an artist, an entrepreneur. There are many ways, of like leading a successful life, and you are showing that, that you are a good example of that, and really congratulations, Hassan, on that.
Thank you.
Before we close this insightful webinar, if there is another question, please feel free to use it on the chat, but I need to share with all of you today's webinar survey. So please just take all of you a couple of minutes to scan this QR code. Don't worry if you can make it now or if your phone is not working. I will be sharing everything later on in the thank you email with also Hassan's details. But if you can take now a couple of minutes to scan the QR code, save the link, and afterwards just enjoy replying the survey. And having this said, Hassan, really thank you very much. Again, on behalf of CEEYOUTH Project and Youth Proactive, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. We will visit you in Capital. Definitely, we will visit you, and really, to have the opportunity, of seeing where all this change is happening. And massive congratulations on.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, everyone, for being here. It was a pleasure of me to talk with you all. And as I said, you're all welcome. Challenge yourself, challenge your organization to be as innovative and scalable as possible, because the youth needs you. So thank you all, and we keep in contact.
We keep in touch. Thanks a lot, Hassan. Wishing all of you a lovely day and on the week. And yes, looking forward, to the next webinar and keeping in touch with you, Hassan. All the best. All the best.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye, everybody.